Happy Tu Bishvat, everyone! It's Melissa here, and a full year has passed since I've talked about Tu Bishvat on my channel, which means that I really wanted to show you what's been growing in my garden and give you a few ideas in case you want to celebrate this Tu Bishvat. Come with me. Tu Bishvat is the birthday of the trees in Judaism. It's historically like a farming holiday, and in modern times it's treated like a modern day sort of Jewish Earth Day. This year in 2020, Tu Bishvat falls on the evening of February the 9th and goes through February the 10th. I want to mention that this video is a collab between me and Allie over at Allie's Best. Allie is an amazing new mom, Jewish mom and wife, and I will be sure to link to her channel down below. My first tip for you about how I like to celebrate Tu Bishvat is to survey our land. If you live somewhere where you have your own yard or a park nearby, or maybe even something that you've planted yourself in past years, now is a great time to return to those trees and plants that you've planted. Here I am with our camellia hedge that is now on year 2, and it's something that we planted for our daughters when we moved into this house. It's a very full and long camellia hedge of cameo camellias. They're this beautiful pink, this beautiful form, and it's taken some time. So gardening is really an investment, and Tu Bishvat marks the birthday of the trees every year. And so today, in honor of Tu Bishvat, I'm just spending time in the garden and visiting the labors of our family that we've invested in our yard here and how it's come along and grown in the past year. My tip number 2 is to plan a new garden project. Whether you're in a house, in an apartment, gardening indoors, gardening at school, or at your local community garden, now is a great time, depending on where you are, to get started with a garden. In our family, we actually used New Year's Eve into the first week of the new year for a major garden project here in our front yard. Behind me is a huge hedge that we've just planted as a family, and we've actually also gone to the nursery and bought bare root roses, little tiny baby blueberry plants, and we've prepared a garden bed to have a front yard vegetable garden for our girls. That's us here in Southern California, but maybe where you are nurturing bulbs inside or starting to plant seedlings for your spring garden that you can start indoors, and we're definitely going to be doing some of that. Let me show you around what we have in the front yard garden now. So when we talk about what trees do for us, there are so many things that trees give us. Right here, our Eugenia hedge is going to be giving us shade and privacy, which are two things that we crave. So we're really happy for them. We come out and say little loving compliments to them all the time. I'm sorry, I was going to take you further, but let me just show you right here because I forgot. Here I've planted 2 rose bushes. This is a little climbing rose. It's matching the ones that are growing on the fence line right now. And here is a purple rose in honor of my grandfather, who loved his roses, and he was especially fond of his purple roses. So I went and bought Barbara Streisand in honor of him, and that's going to be our purple rose in the yard. You can already see the first peak of them here. These are peas that we planted. I realize these aren't trees, but we do have some trees on the property, including our very old crabapple tree behind us that we love. It doesn't look like much right now. January is really a dormant time. Our little blueberry bushes, we bought the smallest ones possible because we wanted a lot of them and we are on a budget. So these little blueberries ran us about $16 a plant, and I bought a dozen of them. We also have our climbing roses and tea roses inside the fence line. So the climbing roses are under the fence rails, and they're gonna climb up all around the yard for a beautiful June display.
Look what is floating.
Oh my goodness. We've continued the same plantings all around the perimeter of the fence, and over here is our garden bed. We're gonna be moving some plants from the backyard, like our artichokes, into the veggie bed in front, and we're gonna be planting some seedlings inside. Here's the bed that's empty right now. So this is basically just a continuation of our flower beds, but it's gonna merge into vegetables here where we get a lot of sun. If this is not your aesthetic, you can always tuck in some veggies in with your flowers, and that works out beautifully as well. I actually have a situation like that in the side yard, so let's go over there and we'll talk about tip number 3. Here we are on tip number 3, which is reading books for Tu Bishvat. PJ Library is one organization that's an amazing way to get free monthly books sent to your child. This was sent to my 3-year-old daughter, and I especially loved this sort of tradition of doing a fruit tasting for Tu Bishvat, and in particular making little arrangements that look like trees on a plate. This is something that you could just copy in your household, and you could do with dried fruits, nuts, or fresh fruits, and I thought it was just a really inspiring little page. So I wanted to share that with you. I also suggest if you subscribe to PJ Library or not, or if you're Jewish or not, you can just look in regular secular books and children's books for Tu Bishvat ideas and to start conversations about trees. This is an old classic book, Each Peach Pear Plum. I love this book. It's about sort of nursery rhyme characters, but at the end there's this beautiful section and there's all these beautiful tree branches with fruits in the book. The very last spread is this beautiful picnic in an orchard of fruit trees, and they're eating pie together. So here is the orchard and the trees. This is just an idea that you could pick up.
Pear plum.
Each peach pear plum with plum pie. Another one that I really love is this one, which is alphabetics. The letter T is for tree, and I thought this was a really fun kind of inspiration for a craft that you could do either with colorful tape or colorful strips of paper and just a glue stick, and you could turn your tree into anything that you wanted. And this is a really beautiful graphic book about the alphabet, but also about creating art out of shapes. My fourth tip is to do a tasting for Tu Bishvat. Now in our family we don't do the full Tu Bishvat Seder, but I do really believe in eating locally, eating in season, and so for us here in Southern California, eating citrus is the way to do that. I have some books, and this is a really inspiring one that I had all through my childhood about citrus. Just looking at a book like this is a great way to talk about fruits and things that we receive from trees, but really I love the idea about diving deep into just one category of tree. And so this is a beautiful way to kind of prepare your children for doing a tasting of citrus. Here we have a lemon tree. We have neighbors with a Meyer lemon tree. We have neighbors down the street with mandarins and tangerines. And so people are definitely sharing citrus with us in our neighborhood, but you can also just take a quick trip to the farmer's market where they have the displays and the tastings and the little pieces of citrus all labeled and set out for you to taste and try. And then you can buy the variety that you like the best. And I think that that's a really special way and a really like low-key, easy way to get out of the house, go learn something, and to have like a sensory experience for Tu Bishvat within a very small category of tree like a citrus tree. My children wanted you to know that we have this volunteer bell pepper plant here in the side yard.
Mama,
Yeah.
is that a little one?
It's a tiny baby one, and I think this is a flower that's just turning into our next bell pepper. Look at what's happening. This bell pepper we didn't even plant, remember? It grew from our compost. My last tip number 5, is to do a craft for Tu Bishvat, and I'm just gonna have to tantalize you with this one and talk you through it. If you can stick around till my next video, I'll be sure to share it with you in great detail. This year we are planning a craft, kind of like a STEM craft activity, mapping the trees on our property and really showing their importance and knowing where they are. So I'm here by our lemon tree, which we're gonna be mapping on a landscape architecture craft map. So be sure to stick around and look out for that coming soon. I think that it's really nice to think about where you live and your community, and also just to learn about nature with your kids and have them recognize that there's a tree there, and it may look like nothing right now, but in later that season it may be producing something that you enjoy and value. As always, I really appreciate you being here, and I would love to know what you liked best about this video or what you yourself are doing this Tu Bishvat to celebrate. My kids are restless. We're gonna go to the farmer's market now, but thank you so much for your time, and I'm wishing you a really happy Tu Bishvat.